Alright, so for this video, I'm going to be recasting the entire Star Wars universe. I guess you can't really say the entire Star Wars universe because I'm only going to be recasting the ones from the live-action movies and TV shows. So that will not include Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch. I think there's one called Visions. None of the Lego Star Wars TV specials or anything like that. This will mostly just be the movies, TV shows. And it's not even going to be every character from the live-action movies and TV shows. So, people like Cara Dune, didn't recast that one, didn't really care to. General Grievous, kind of a big one that I didn't recast. But honestly, I feel like you can find any voice actor for that. So I'll just recast it right now. How about that? Let's do Phil Lamar as General Grievous because he's a great voice actor. So we'll go with that for anybody who is really craving for that General Grievous recasting. But R2-D2, didn't really feel like there was a need to recast that one. Even to a certain extent, I don't think Chewbacca needed to be recasted, but I did that anyways because there's one person that I actually have on here a couple times, I think, that is a pretty good voice actor and also one of my favorite actors. So I'll get to that in a little while, but right now I do actually have to thank today's sponsor, which is Audible. And right now, if you go to audibletrial.com/popculturepodcast, you can get a free 30-day trial of Audible Premium Plus, which will give you access to all their originals, podcasts, audiobooks, guided meditation, and sleep sounds. Yes, they have sleep sounds too. They have everything, honestly. And yeah, with Audible Premium Plus, when you sign up for that, it'll give you 1 credit or 2 credits for Prime members that you can use towards any of their premium audiobook titles. I guess, I don't know for sure if you can use it for other things, but I know for sure that you can use it for their audiobooks. So yeah, once again, that is audibletrial.com/popculturepodcast to get yourself a free 30-day trial of Audible Premium Plus. So again, thank you Audible for sponsoring this video, and let's get into it. And actually, a little bit of context here that I just needed to add. Most of these characters, I'm going to have them play the characters, for the entire time. I'm not going to, cast an older version of Obi-Wan. What I'm going to do basically is have the actor I have playing, I guess you could say the younger versions of themselves, be aged up with prosthetics and CGI throughout the films. And also the way this works, this is if Star Wars came out today, started with Episode 1, Phantom Menace, and we got a movie every year, and then just, kind of tacked on as the TV show stuff. But, yeah, lots to recast here. I have done recastings before. I've done recastings for the DC Universe, as well as Marvel. And with the DC ones, I went ahead and casted a lot of characters that weren't already in movies, just like comic book characters I would like to see in the movies. But for Marvel, that was purely I'm 99.9% sure that I only casted people that are already in the MCU. And so that's how it's going to work for Star Wars, But I don't know enough about the comics or the books to know any characters that aren't already in the shows or movies there. But yeah, like I said, lots to recast here. So let's go ahead and start off with the Jedi. And yes, I'm color coordinating this. Can't talk. I'm color coordinating this stuff because thought that'd be pretty fun. But yeah, starting off with Luke Skywalker. This is the person who will be playing Luke Skywalker through A New Hope all the way to Last Jedi. And this isn't my first pick necessarily, but it was one of my picks. The person I originally had as Luke, I was like, I think they're going to be a better Han. So that's where they are now. We'll get into that in a little bit here. But for my Luke Skywalker, I went with Ty Sheridan, who was in Ready Player One. He played Cyclops in X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. He was also recently in Voyagers and The Card Counter. Pretty great actor. I think he has the look for Luke. He's also young enough. I'm trying to stay pretty close to the age that Luke was supposed to be in the first episode, which I think was I don't know, maybe 18 or something like that. So Ty Sheridan, I think he's in his mid to late 20s, so it's close enough. There's plenty of actors out there who are almost 30 that can pass for teenagers. So yeah, Ty Sheridan as my Luke Skywalker. For my Anakin Skywalker, through episode oh yeah. I casted this one through from episode 2 through Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I have a different one for young Anakin for episode 1. Just because of this actor, I don't think it would make sense to have him as like the young Anakin who's supposed to be like 9 or 10. But for my Anakin Skywalker, I went with, and I don't know if people are going to like this one too much, but I like it personally, and he's also who I casted for my Red Hood in my DC recasting, and that is Tanner Buchanan from Cobra Kai. He plays Robbie on that show. You also might know him from He's All that great movie on Netflix, and then a show called The Fosters. Just seeing him on Cobra Kai, seeing, you know, how he can fight, how he can move around, and then just seeing like the anger that his character from Cobra Kai has, I think he would really pull off Anakin. So this was an obvious choice for me, to be honest. And I think that's probably the casting choice that got me started on wanting to do this recasting. That and Obi-Wan, which we'll get to in a sec. But for young Anakin in episode 1, I went with Walker Scobell from The Adam Project, the kid from that movie. I think he had a lot of charisma in there, and I could see him being a younger version of Tanner Buchanan, possibly. Yeah, not a whole lot to say about that casting choice, but I think it would be cool. As for my Obi-Wan, from episode 1 to A New Hope, I went with Taron Egerton from Kingsman, Sing, Rocketman, and Eddie the Eagle. I really like Taron Egerton as an actor. I think he's fantastic in the Kingsman series. And he also has like this warmth to him, I guess you could kind of say, like from his roles in Sing and Rocketman. Like he has a certain warmth to him. And he just seems like a really nice guy. And that warmth is something I attribute. Is that a word? Yeah. That's something I attribute to Obi-Wan Kenobi, just him being a passionate, kind person, and I think that Taron Egerton can both pull that off and pull off the badassery that you need for Obi-Wan. By the way, definitely got to bring out the lightsaber. Been meaning to bring this out, but yeah, I think Taron Egerton would be a very cool Obi-Wan, and I would age him up with prosthetics and CGI, like I said. For my Yoda, I actually went with somebody who's somewhat new to the acting space, but does a lot of impressions and a lot of voice work. And he was most recently, I think he played Dracula. Like, I think he replaced Adam Sandler in the new Hotel Transylvania. And honestly, I couldn't tell the difference. Didn't see that movie, but from the trailers, I couldn't tell the difference. And I also wrote down / YouTube impressions guy. For Yoda, I went with Brian Hull, who, for those of you who don't know, he goes around to like Disney World, and he basically like goes and does like a bunch of impressions of different characters with the characters at Disney. So yeah, he's really cool, and he's just now getting into the acting / voice acting realm, I guess you could say. So yeah, I think he'd be cool as Yoda. I was having trouble picking my Yoda, but I was just like, you know what, let's go with somebody who does good impressions, and I think who could do it. So I went with Brian Hull. For my Rey, I went with Jessica Henwick from Love and Monsters, The Matrix Resurrections, Iron Fist. She was also in Force Awakens. I forget exactly which character she plays there. But she was also in Game of Thrones. And she was actually almost casted as Rey, so that's basically the reason why I gave it to her. Yeah, I mean, give her a chance, you know. I think that Daisy Ridley did a really good job as Rey, but, you know, I would like to see the second choice, I guess. You know, see what she would have to do. She's been in some good movies. She might not be like the main character of any of the movies I've seen, but you know, I've seen her in Iron Fist. She can definitely do badass, so I think she could pull it off. For my Qui-Gon Jinn, this is actually one of my favorite casting choices from this entire list. For Qui-Gon, I went with Ralph Fiennes, who played Voldemort in Harry Potter. He was also in The Kingsman and the 007 series, as well as a lot of other things. He's a really great actor. And once I, you know, because basically how I do this is, and thank you to Famous Birthdays for having it nice and categorized. You can find like different actors and actresses and categorize them by age. So I try to have it kind of close to the ages and, you know, have, you know, people that are supposed to be older than other people and people that are supposed to be younger than other people actually be older and younger, you know, if that makes sense. And I saw Ralph Fiennes, and I was just like, he would be such a great Qui-Gon. I could definitely see that. So I think he is one of my favorite picks on this entire list. Not just the Jedi, but like the entire recasting. I really like that casting choice of Ralph Fiennes as Qui-Gon Jinn. For my Mace Windu, and I always butcher this guy's name, but I think it's Demon Hansu. He's been in the Guardians of the Galaxy series. He was also in A Quiet Place 2, Gladiator, The King's Man. There was something else. Oh yeah, he was also in Ms. Marvel as the same character from Guardians of the Galaxy. But he's a great actor, and yeah, I just think he would be cool as that character. I like him. It would be either be him or the guy who plays, I think it's Chiwetel Ejiofor, probably saying that wrong, who plays, oh shoot, what's his name? Mordo from Doctor Strange. I think that'd be a good pick too. But I ended up going with Demon Hansu because I really like him as an actor. For my Ahsoka Tano, yes, I put Ahsoka Tano in here because technically she was in Mandalorian. So I went with, I don't know if people are going to like this too much. She was almost my Padme, but she's too badass to be just Padme. So I went with Zendaya as Ahsoka Tano. I love Ahsoka Tano. She's one of my top 5 favorite characters. Even though I haven't watched the Clone Wars, I still like her a lot because I've watched a lot of clips from that show. But yeah, I think Zendaya would definitely kill it as Ahsoka Tano. Obviously, she's been in Spider-Man as the new MJ. She's been in Euphoria. Most recently, well, maybe not most recently, but she was also in Dune. She's been in a lot of great stuff, and she's definitely one of those actors on the rise. So I think she would be very cool as Ahsoka Tano. And don't mind me just, you know, turning this on and off and setting it down, picking it up. I can't put this thing down most of the time. Now we are getting to the Galactic Republic. You know what? We'll just go with, oh, that almost looks purple to me. Let's go with that color for the Galactic Republic. I think that's the color I started with, but oh well. Yeah, so only person I have in Galactic Republic. It was hard for me to like categorize some of these people, but I had Padme in here. And definitely not my first choice, because my first choice was Zendaya. But I do like this choice. I think she's a great actress who just hasn't been in enough yet. But I went with Margaret Qualley. She's a really great actress, honestly. I really do like her. She was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that Tarantino movie. She was also in Maid, really great Netflix series if you haven't checked that out. She was also in the live-action Death Note movie and in The Nice Guys. And I think she would do a pretty good job as Padme. I could see her and Tanner Buchanan having some chemistry. They're close enough in age to where it's not creepy, because it's kind of creepy the way the Anakin and Padme relationship works. But, you know, it is what it is. And then for the Rebel Alliance, am I changing the color for this one? That didn't really change the color much. You don't really notice a whole lot there, do you? I'll have it like that. How about that? For the Rebel Alliance, this is like Han Solo and Leia and stuff. So for Leia Organa, the version that will be there through A New Hope all the way to Rise of Skywalker, I went with Olivia Cooke, who is also in Ready Player One. So it's kind of weird because Ty Sheridan and her were like love interests in Ready Player One. Now they're going to be siblings, but, you know, kind of some irony there because they did kiss each other in the original trilogy. But she was also in Meet Earl and the Dying Girl, Sound of Metal, which that movie is really great. Definitely go check that out. And then Bates Motel as well. And I think she would do a good job. There's a lot of people that I would considered for Leia. But at the end of the day, like this made the most sense to me. Giving it to a somewhat smaller actor while also, you know, making them close enough in age to Luke, and then trying to have her close enough in age to Han as well, because Han was like 29 when Leia was like 18 or some shit like that. But yeah, Olivia Cooke as Leia Organa. As for my young Leia, for Obi-Wan Kenobi, I went with Lexi Rabe, who played Morgan Stark in Avengers Endgame. And I don't know. That's all, like, the only really big thing that she's been in. And the fact that she's been Morgan Stark in Avengers Endgame is the main reason why I casted her as young Leia. So there you go. You know, playing the daughter of a huge character. So, yeah. For my Han Solo, I went, and he was my original choice for Luke. I went with Ansel Elgort from Baby Driver, the most recent West Side Story, and Fault in Our Stars. You know, at first I was like, man, he'd make a really good Luke. But then I thought about it some, and I was just like, man, he has a lot of charisma, and just some of the characters he's played reminds me of Han Solo. So I was like, I think I gotta cast this guy as Han Solo. So that's what I did. As for my Bail Organa, I went with an interesting choice. This actor has actually worked with Jimmy Smits, who plays Bail Organa in Star Wars. They worked together on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, as well as In the Heights. You might see where I'm going here. I went with Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is famous for Hamilton, In the Heights, Tick, Tick, Boom, he recently directed. And he was also on an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine with Jimmy Smits. Funny enough, Lin-Manuel Miranda plays the brother to Amy Santiago on that show, and Jimmy Smits plays the father of Amy Santiago on that show. So I thought that was kind of funny. Wasn't planned, but then I thought about it, and I was like, oh my god, that makes it even more perfect. So yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda as Bail Organa. I didn't cast the mother because, I don't know, I'm not sexist or anything, I just didn't care enough. I mean, this is already a pretty long list as it is, and yeah, I thought this was enough for now at least. But for Chewbacca, that, like I said, one of the characters where I was like, you don't necessarily need to cast anybody huge for Chewbacca, just anybody who can do an impression. And while I have not heard this man do an impression of Chewbacca, I have heard him do impressions of other Star Wars characters. I went with Bill Hader, who is famous for being on SNL. Barry, highly recommend you guys check out that show. He was that funny cop on Superbad, in It Chapter 2. And he also lent his voice to the role of BB-8 in the Star Wars sequel movies. I'm sure a lot of people actually didn't know that. But yeah, indeed he did. And as you can tell here, there's exceptions here for people who have been in Star Wars before. As long as they haven't played the character before in live action, or I guess cartoons technically count too, then I'm just like, all right, I'll go ahead and cast them as a different character. But for my Lando Calrissian, trying to think of who I went with at first. I'm not necessarily sure. I don't know. I think I went with like Daniel Kaluuya or something like that, but I can't remember completely. But I ended up picking Michael B. Jordan as Lando Calrissian. I think that he is a great casting choice. He has the charisma that Lando needs. And, you know, let's not lie to ourselves. He has the looks too. So I think he has that kind of, I guess you could, the only other word I can think of is swagger. He has that swagger that Lando Calrissian is supposed to have. He is very charismatic. He's a good looking dude. So I think he could really pull it off. He's also a really great actor. So Michael B. Jordan as Lando Calrissian. For my Jyn Erso, the main character of Star Wars Rogue One, I went with Ana de Armas from Knives Out, No Time to Die, Blade Runner 2049, and the upcoming Blonde movie, where she will be playing Marilyn Monroe. She is such a great actress. I loved her in Knives Out, and I will watch anything she's in, pretty much. So, I haven't really seen her in too much of an action role. I guess No Time to Die does count. She kicked some ass in there for sure. Didn't have a huge part, but I'd love to see her as Jyn Erso. As for Cassian Andor, the other, like one of the other main characters from Star Wars Rogue One, and I guess you could say kind of the love interest of Jyn Erso in that movie, I went with Dev Patel, who is famous for Slumdog Millionaire, Lion, The Green Knight, and The Last Airbender. Probably shouldn't have included that one, but yeah, I mean, I think he's a great actor. He hasn't necessarily been in movies that I've loved. Green Knight, really did not like that movie. And Last Airbender, terrible movie as well. But I have not seen Slumdog Millionaire or Lion, but I know for a fact that he has acting chops. So I would like to see him take a stab at Cassian Andor. Let me see here. As for the Resistance, are we changing the color here? Oh, I'm running out of colors. Guess we'll go with that one, even though it didn't really change much. Let's see, how many? I only have 3 for the Resistance. So Poe Dameron, obviously. I went with Sebastian Stan, who plays Bucky / the Winter Soldier for Marvel. He's also most recently in that Pam and Tommy show. He was in The Martian, which is actually one of my favorite movies. I, Tonya. He's been in a lot of great things. And at first, I think I went with oh shoot, what's his name? Let me see if I have it written down somewhere. Not to like spoil an upcoming casting, but I thought I had him somewhere else. Maybe not. So I'm trying to think of who I had originally. I think I might have had Pedro Pascal at one point as Poe Dameron, but then I was like, I feel like I need to kind of cast younger, and also I found somebody else who I thought was a little more suited for the role. I think Sebastian Stan has that charisma, and I could just see Sebastian Stan interacting with BB-8 and Rey and Finn. Honestly, for a lot of these actors, it's like, in my head, can I picture them interacting with these other characters, playing that character? And with this, I was like, man, I can't not have him as Poe Dameron. But up next for Finn / FN2187, I went with Daniel Kaluuya, who was in Black Panther, Get Out, Judas and the Black Messiah, and upcoming this month. I'm very excited for it. Nope. So can't wait for that movie. I think Daniel Kaluuya could definitely pull this off. It would definitely be maybe not a completely different role for him. He's done the kind of fantasy roles before with Black Panther, but this will be a little more of like a little more of a sci-fi kind of thing going on. And there's plenty of sci-fi in Black Panther, but this is like space, you know. So I think Daniel Kaluuya would do a really good job as Finn, and I think he would also have somewhat more of a different take on it. For Rose Tico, everybody's favorite character. I mean, I don't hate the character, but, you know, I didn't agree with some stuff that she did in Last Jedi. You might know what I'm talking about with Finn. I went with Karen Fukuhara from The Boys, Suicide Squad, and she will also be in the upcoming Bullet Train movie with Brad Pitt, which I'm also very excited for that one. But I think she would be very good as Rose Tico. She's awesome on The Boys as Kamiko. And, yeah, I would like to see her in this role and see what she could bring to it. And we are done with the Resistance and all the Jedi and stuff. So, why don't we get to the Sith? I can't wait. Now, out of all of them, I think it's like the Jedi and the Sith are the ones I have the most for. So, let's just get straight into it, dude. Obviously, got to start with Darth Vader. And yes, Tanner Buchanan is technically Darth Vader in this situation, in this scenario. He's the dude underneath the mask. But for my voice, you have to have somebody who has that powerful voice. And it's hard to replace James Earl Jones, but I think out of everybody, Jeffrey Wright would be the best decision for the voice of Vader. You know, you might know him as the Watcher from What If. He was also Commissioner Gordon in the Batman. I forget his character's name in the 007 movies, but he's in those movies as well. And then the series Westworld, which I've watched the first 2 seasons of. Great on that show. But Jeffrey Wright has that voice where I really think he could lend it to this character and do an amazing job. Maybe not quite surpass James Earl Jones, because that's really hard to do, but at least get as close to it as possible. As for my Emperor Palpatine, I think I went with Andy Serkis at first, which would also be a really great pick, but I ended up going with the creepiest dude I've ever seen. Maybe not like creepy, just him as a person, but in terms of the roles he's played. You know, he's played, I forget the name of the monster, or the demon from Death Note, but he played that. And then obviously Green Goblin as well, and Spider-Man. I think Willem Dafoe would make an amazing Emperor Palpatine. And as I say that, I'm sure a lot of you right now are just like, oh my god, I never thought about that, but holy shit, that's a great choice. Honestly, though, it is a great fucking choice. I mean, what more can I say? This dude can do horror. He can also do, well, he can do everything. He can do anything he sets his mind to. So, Palpatine, definitely think he can do it. As for my boy Kylo Ren / Ben Solo, maybe not my boy. I don't love Kylo Ren, but, yeah, not a lot of people are going to like this, but some people are going to be like, yeah, I can kind of see it. I went with Timothée Chalamet from Dune, Call Me By Your Name, Little Woman, The King, Interstellar, Wonka, the upcoming Wonka movie, The French Dispatch, Don't Look Up, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I think he's a pretty good actor. He's shown that he has enough depth and shown that he can do all sorts of different kinds of tones. You know, in The French Dispatch and Don't Look Up, those are more comedic roles that he's done, and I think he did a good job there. He's going to be playing Wonka, which he's going to be playing an iconic figure. So I think the movie opportunities are going to open themselves up to him. And from everything I've heard and everything I've seen, this guy's a great up-and-coming actor. So I think I would like to see him as Kylo Ren. As for my Count Dooku, this is a good choice. This is actually one of the first casting choices I did for this video, and that is Charles Dance. You might know him as one of the Lannisters from Game of Thrones. He was also in The King's Man, Alien 3, Last Action Hero, The Crown, and Underworld. Great actor. Can definitely pull off that menacing, just kind of evil vibe that Count Dooku has. I think he would be great. As for my Darth Maul, I'm not in love with this pick. I love the actor, but I don't necessarily know if I see him 100% as the character, just because the original actor did such a good job. I went with Tom Hiddleston as my Darth Maul from, you know, Marvel. He plays Loki, you know, Crimson Peak, Kong Skull Island. He's been in a lot of stuff. I think he'd be really cool. I don't know for sure if he can pull off the choreographics, but I think he could learn it. So I think he would do a pretty bang-up job as Darth Maul, but like I said, I don't know. Could I have casted better? Probably, but could I figure out who it is? I don't know. I couldn't find anybody else, so that's just kind of who I went with and stuck with. As for Reva / the third sister from Obi-Wan Kenobi, I went with Zoe Kravitz from Mad Max Fury Road, X-Men First Class, Divergent, Fantastic Beasts, and The Batman. And I think she would be great, honestly. I love Zoe Kravitz. I have loved her in everything I've seen her in. So I think she would kill it as Reva. I mean, Reva wasn't the best villain of Obi-Wan Kenobi, or really the best villain of Star Wars in general, but I think Zoe Kravitz could bring something really neat to that. So there you go. And for the other Obi-Wan Kenobi villain and the last person in the Sith category, I went with the Grand Inquisitor. Now, I think I had one other casting option here, but I ended up going with somebody who I know can do this kind of role and is really creepy because he's done a similar kind of role very recently. I went with Jamie Campbell Bower from Sweeney Todd, Twilight, Mortal Instruments, Harry Potter, and also Stranger Things. So, yeah, spoiler alert for Stranger Things if you haven't gotten around to that. Sorry about that. This video probably won't come out for a little bit, so you should be fine. But, yeah, I think he would do a really great job as that Grand Inquisitor, being very menacing and just really intimidating to look at. Like, Grand Inquisitor, he's scary. I'm not even going to lie to you. The actor that he had for him, he's fine for the most part, but I think Jamie Campbell Bower would bring something even more menacing and intimidating to the role. So there you go. That's the last for the Sith there. And I guess I don't really want to do orange for Galactic Empire, so I guess I'm just going to keep it red at this point. Starting with, and I think I only have two for this, starting with Moff Gideon. I didn't know whether to put him in Sith or Galactic Empire, so I just went with Galactic Empire. And I went with a much younger casting choice here. For Moff Gideon, I went with Mahershala Ali, who's going to be playing Blade in the MCU. He was also on Luke Cage. He was in Green Book and Moonlight. He's a really great actor. I fucking loved him. Loved him on not Iron Fist, Luke Cage. I thought he was a really great villain in that show. So I think he would make a really good villain as Moff. Really good villain. Did I say that right? Really good villain as Moff Gideon. And for Grand Moff Tarkin, I went with Christopher Walken from Pulp Fiction, Batman Returns, Sleepy Hollow, Catch Me If You Can. Honestly, just like comparing him to the original actor, I'm just like, oh my God, like he could definitely play that character. That'd be perfect. Enough said about that. And we're getting to the First Order, and then after that, it'll be the etc. category, the ETC category. Only have three for the First Order. I have Captain Phasma, played by Charlize Theron. You know, she's been in Mad Max Fury Road, Fast and Furious, Hancock, The Italian Job, and spoiler alert for Multiverse of Madness, she was also in that at the very end. She's a great action actress, does a lot of choreography and shit like that, so I think she could pull off Captain Phasma. She's a badass, so there you go. For Supreme Leader Snoke, I think I had a different casting choice at first, but I ended up going with Benedict Cumberbatch from, obviously, plays Doctor Strange in Marvel, The Hobbit, Sherlock, Star Trek Into Darkness. He has done voice work before for The Hobbit as Smaug. So basically he'd be doing a similar thing here. Maybe they could also do, you know, the mocap stuff like Andy Serkis did for this character. Yeah, I mean, he's done that stuff before, so I think he would kill it. Excuse me, hiccups. And then for General Hux, I went with, Alfie Allen, who is from Game of Thrones, John Wick, Jojo Rabbit, and The Predator. When I had to think of somebody who was kind of a weaselly little snake, maybe not the actor necessarily, but his character in Game of Thrones and John Wick for sure, I'm just like, yeah, that's kind of who he plays. So I think he would do a good job as General Hux. So yeah. And we're getting into that ETC, etc. category. Starting with C-3PO, I went with Jack Whitehall. I don't know how people are going to feel about that casting choice. Hasn't been in anything too great in terms of movies, but he's a really funny comedian. Also, he's British, so that kind of... I think he could do a good C-3PO impression if he really tried. So he's been in like Jungle Cruise, Clifford the Big Red Dog, The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, Good Omens, Drunk History, and then I also wrote stand-up. He is a really good stand-up comic. I think he's hilarious, and I think he could bring that energy to C-3PO and even be in the suit and do the movements. I think he could do that for sure. As for Boba Fett / Jango Fett / the clones, because, you know, they all look alike. By the way, I didn't cast young Boba Fett. Sorry about that, but I went with Carl Urban. Honestly, the most obvious choice. You know, he's in The Boys. He played Judge Dredd at one point, Thor Ragnarok, and Star Trek. I think he would fucking kill it as all these characters, essentially. I mean, Tamara Morrison did a great job as all the characters, but if I had to recast it, I would be 100% on board with Carl Urban. So there's that for you. And sorry if I'm speeding up a little bit. My voice is starting to hurt. So trying to get through this a little quick. As for Jabba the Hutt, I also went with Bill Hader for this one because he's actually done his Jabba the Hutt impression on late night talk shows, and it's perfect. So, you know, if it ain't broke, let's go with it. Yeah, and then for the Mandalorian / Din Djarin, I went with Oscar Isaac. You know, he kind of looks a little bit like Pedro Pascal, so that's part of the reason why I did it. But also, I think that Oscar Isaac could have that I don't know, almost, he's like a caregiver for the child, you know, for Grogu. And I think Oscar Isaac could pull off that kind of, that warmth that Din Djarin's supposed to have, but also that badassery that he's supposed to have when he's fighting people, because at the end of the day, he is a bounty hunter. So, you know, I think Oscar Isaac could pull off that sweet yet badass, you know, nature that the Mandalorian is supposed to have. So there you go. And then the last two here, not huge characters, but Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. I really, for Uncle Owen, I really wanted to cast this actor in Star Wars, but I just couldn't find the right character. So I was like, screw it. Let's just make him one of the smaller ones because I just wanted an excuse to put him in here. I went with James McAvoy from X-Men. He played the younger version of Professor X. Also, he was in Split, as well as Glass. What else was he in? His Dark Materials, Together, which was a really good indie film there. And then It Chapter 2. So yeah, I think he would be good as that role. I mean, not a huge character, but I mean, I just wanted to see James McAvoy in the Star Wars universe. So I was like, I guess I'll put him as Uncle Owen. I kind of wanted to cast him as Obi-Wan, but I wanted my Obi-Wan to be, you know, somebody younger for the prequels, since, you know, the way I'm doing it is having them be aged up with prosthetics and CGI. So I went with James McAvoy for Uncle Owen. And for Aunt Beru, I went with Jodie Whittaker, who is I don't think she's the current Doctor for Doctor Who, but she was like the last one at least. So yeah, she's been on Doctor Who, Broadchurch, Attack the Block, and Black Mirror. she's a great actress. I've seen her on Black Mirror. I haven't seen much of her as Doctor Who. I kind of fell off of that show a few years ago, but yeah, I mean, she's a great actress, and I could definitely see her in that role, so that's why I went with Jodie Whittaker. Also, they have good, I think they would have good chemistry, James McAvoy and Jodie Whittaker. I'm not certain that they've worked on anything together. I don't think so, but it's possible. But I can see them having good chemistry, so that is why I went with her. But yeah, oh man, over 35 minutes of recasting choices. My throat hurts. I feel like coughing up a storm right now, but I'm going to wait until I finish recording to do that. Definitely took me a minute to get through all that, but like I said, comment down below if there's any characters that I didn't cast that you would like me to recast, and I'll reply to your comment and recast that character for you. As long as I can find somebody within a reasonable amount of time, that's not going to take me like an hour to find somebody. But yeah, let me know if there's any live action TV show, like Star Wars TV show or movie characters that I didn't cast and you want me to recast them. Would definitely be down to do that. Leave a like on the video and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload from me. So yeah. Also, thank you to Audible for sponsoring this video. Once again, for that 30-day free trial of Audible Premium Plus, that is audibletrial.com/popculturepodcast. That is all I got for you. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.